I'm back home after 10 days in Italy, most of that time spent working at the conference for the International Society of Equitation Science. This group, this society, is really about understanding recent advances in research and new knowledge in science that are going to help with training, with riding, and generally with caring and managing horses. And this conference was really an amazing event where researchers and scientists, trainers, and just horse owners from around the world came together for the researchers to present their findings and to have some really good discussion around what that means for us as horse owners and riders and trainers. There was so much to learn at this event, from new technology, such as being able to better measure the heart rate variability in horses, to taking a fresh look at social behavior. One study looked at the lick and chew and what that really means in the context of looking at wild horses. And then also just bringing to light some things that we maybe take for granted. For example, there was a study that looked at how riders, even experienced riders, affect the symmetry of the horse. I was able to do some short interviews with a lot of the presenters, and in last week's video, I already shared many of them, and I'd like to share a few more in this week's video. Now, with these little interviews, I was only able to just really briefly scratch the surface of what they presented and what there is for us to learn from these kind of new findings in science, but I hope that you enjoy these little clips and you get some good takeaways here. This first clip is going to challenge a kind of common sense belief that in really hot weather, horses would want to spend a lot of time in the shade. That's what we would think, that's at least what I would have guessed, but this research showed a little bit differently. I am here with Betsy Green, and you work with University of Arizona.
Yes.
And I just watched your presentation, and I was really fascinated, along with a lot of other people I brought to the audience, surprised about what you found in regards to shade and horses in Arizona.
Yeah, well, the fact that I live in Arizona where the temperatures are extremely high, but the humidity is low, it's a very desert area, you look and say, well, they should want to have shade and they should want to be in the shade, but the horses actually don't use the shade that much. When we actually put GPS collars on them and travel and had monitored their travel throughout the paddock, the gelding group spent 20% in the shade of the time, and the mares less than that, and it was actually significantly different. But not to say that you should never have a shade, but that doesn't mean they choose to use it.
I think this is a great reminder that horses aren't humans, and that sometimes the things that we think we would do are not necessarily what the horse would do. There was actually a few different studies that looked at blanketing and kind of had similar findings, that when we humans are uncomfortable and we think that maybe we need to do something for the horse, it's not always true. Sometimes the horse might be completely comfortable. In this next clip, you're going to hear from someone that's looking at how horses' early development affects their performance later in life, and how it may be more than just genetics that plays a role in a horse's performance. So you had also mentioned that there was a difference between horses that came from small groups and larger breeding stables in how they performed?
In my private practice, I have seen that horses that reach higher level of performance are coming from small farms. And the situation differentiates from the others is because they still with the mother longer. That's my personal experience. And the other part is that the embryo transfer offsprings normally are beside the receptor mother longer, because they don't have the need to inseminate that mare as soon as the other farms. So that's why these foals create a better bond with the mother and a better way to view the world. So in our view, we believe that it's more the environmental influence than the genes that come in from these horses that produce a better athlete at the end.
That's really interesting.
Yep.
Thank you. I found this work on looking at the horse's early development really fascinating, because we know how much our childhood affects us as people, and I think it really just makes sense that the way that a horse is able to kind of grow up and the interaction that they have with other horses and their weaning age would really affect them later in life as well. I have one more clip that I want to share, and this one is from someone who's looking at pain, specifically chronic pain, and how we can better recognize when our horses are in pain. Because when we think about just the horse's welfare and their quality of life, being able to better recognize that, especially since the horse is a prey animal and sometimes they're quite good at hiding pain, I think is really, really important for us as horse owners and caretakers. I'm here with Dr. Eddie Bustamante, and I understand that you do some research in looking at pain in horses.
Right. Yeah, I come from Chile. I work as a faculty member at Universidad Austral de Chile, like 500 kilometers south of Santiago. And I'm a veterinary anesthesiologist, and I look at the molecular mechanisms that mediate the transition between acute and chronic pain. And we've done some research in horses, and I think we published a paper this year that confirms that the molecular changes in the spinal cord of horses are similar to other models of chronic pain, including rodents and all that. So we can confirm that horses suffer from chronic pain.
So what kind of application does your work have for the average horse owner?
Oh, that's a good question, because yesterday when they were talking about the Grima scale, I did a couple of questions regarding the use of the Grima scale in diagnosed chronic pain in horses, which is something that we have to take a lot more in consideration, which I think is a big deal. I think higher and higher number of horses suffer from chronic pain every day. And we were listening today to some other talks about obesity and laminitis and all those chronic diseases that might deal with chronic pain, and sometimes those things just go underneath the rug and we don't take proper measures. So we hopefully be able in the near future to get more robust indicators, either blood or behavioral stuff that will confirm the presence of chronic pain in horses and treat them better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's of course something very relevant for welfare. Is something that sometimes we don't take much in account, and it's one of the most important things about welfare is dealing with pain. So I think we're trying to help in that area.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear which one of these little interviews was most fascinating to you. So go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you're watching this anywhere besides crktrainingblog.com, that's where the best conversation happens, and you can watch many more hours of free video there as well. Also, if you'd like to learn more about the International Society of Equitation Science and next year's conference, we'll put the link to their website down below this video as well.